Some insane breaking news coming out of the entertainment world, or at least the reality TV part of the world, in which we are finding that Lauren Sanchez, who recently got married to billionaire Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, is now in a war of war.
Many thought Lauren Sanchez was living a dream, but behind the glamour, the truth was brutal. The price she paid for stepping into Jeff Bezos' world was sky high, because Bezos just walked away with one of the most shocking legal victories ever, $5 billion on the line, and the opponent was none other than his own wife, Lauren Sanchez. What started as a relationship dripping in diamonds and private jets has now been exposed as a dark story of power, control, and fear. Bezos, the billionaire who once had it all, lavish homes, endless money, and a romance the world envied, suddenly found himself locked in a bitter courtroom showdown that left even Wall Street shaking. This wasn't just about a marriage gone wrong. It revealed an entirely different Bezos, cold, ruthless, reckless in his private life, and investors began to whisper, if this is how he runs his heart, what about his empire? The secrecy around the lawsuit only made the world hungrier for answers. What could turn a fairy tale love into a global disaster just months after the so-called wedding of the century? Nobody, absolutely nobody, was ready for the bombshells that followed. Betrayal, hidden deals, accusations that flipped a glossy romance into a headline-grabbing scandal. This wasn't just a breakup. It was a billionaire war staged right in front of the public like the world's most expensive reality show. Look at how she's lived her life, people muttered, pointing fingers at Lauren. But the real shock was Bezos himself. How could the Amazon founder turn his back so quickly on the woman he once flaunted as untouchable? And how did Lauren, who seemed untouchable herself, suddenly crash into billions of dollars of debt overnight? And just like that, the countdown began. The divorce set to be finalized in 90 days, a ruthless end to what had been sold as the love story of the century. It all began in Venice with a $50 million wedding spectacle.
I think that the divorce and the affair definitely showed a side of Jeff Bezos that we weren't aware of, and I think it did make some investors nervous. It kind of showed a more reckless or a more personal side of his life, which I do think was kind of concerning to some people.
A three-day extravaganza meant to scream love and power. Hollywood A-listers, tech billionaires, global influencers, everyone was there. But the fairy tale wedding unraveled before it even ended. The whispers started fast and ugly. Guests leaked humiliating details, tacky planning, messy organization, food so bad people compared it to cafeteria slop. Accommodations were called a joke, and some claimed the whole event felt cheap despite the price tag. Bezos, the man obsessed with perfection, was suddenly a punchline at his own wedding. Tabloids had a field day. Social media dragged them for being out of touch, caring more about flashing wealth than treating people right. Instead of being remembered as a symbol of eternal love, the Bezos-Sanchez wedding became the opening act to a billionaire nightmare. Some guests didn't hold back. They called the wedding an insult. To them, it was like Bezos and Lauren were throwing billions in everyone's face, a flashy middle finger to the paparazzi and the public alike. What was supposed to be a display of everlasting love turned into an arrogant circus, and it backfired in the worst way. Instead of admiration, it left a permanent stain on both Bezos and Sanchez's image. And that stain became the spark. The so-called wedding of the century lit a fuse that would explode into the ugliest billionaire courtroom showdown the world has ever seen. Behind the bright smiles in Venice, there were already cracks forming, brutal fights, cold resentments, and whispers of betrayal no one outside the mansion walls could imagine. To the cameras, they kept up the show, smiling, holding hands, dripping in designer clothes. A picture-perfect couple, but insiders swore it was all fake.
Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez get married because that's what you do when you are Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez. You invite only your close, you're literally one of the richest men in the world, worth $250 billion.
Behind the flashbulbs, suspicion was eating away at their love, poisoning the relationship day by day. A source close to the couple spilled that the honeymoon phase died the second the wedding disaster unfolded. Bezos blasted Lauren for being too flashy, too controlling, too obsessed with appearances, and those very obsessions turned their $50 million celebration into a global humiliation. The media wasted no time. They branded it Jeff Bezos' big fat incel wedding, a name so cruel it left Bezos seething and humiliated. Imagine the richest man alive, reduced to being mocked like a character in a bad reality show, and it didn't stop there. Critics tore into Lauren too, calling her face a sea of injections, claiming she was addicted to cosmetic fixes, while Bezos was painted as a man losing his grip on both love and dignity. Close friends revealed it only got worse from there. Private dinners turned into screaming matches. Exotic vacations that should have been romantic became trips filled with cold silence and icy glares. Even when they showed up at red carpet events, the tension was obvious. The stares, the body language, the distance. What had once been gossip now looked undeniable. This marriage was cracking right before everyone's eyes. And then, the shock of all shocks, Bezos made a move no one in billionaire history had ever dared to make. He filed a $5 billion lawsuit against his own wife, Lauren Sanchez. The allegations: betrayal, breach of trust, and claims she inflicted emotional distress so severe it rocked the Amazon founder to his core. The man who once stood as untouchable now dragged his marriage into the courtroom, turning a personal disaster into a global scandal. The news hit like a nuclear blast, not just because the $5 billion figure was unthinkable, but because it came so fast, barely weeks after their luxury Venice wedding.
Some insane breaking news coming out of the entertainment world, or at least the reality TV part of the world, in which we are finding that Lauren Sanchez, who recently got married to billionaire Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, is now in a war of words with the Kardashians. And not just Kim Kardashian, but Kourtney Kardashian, and then the other one that I forget her name. Those three are in a war with Lauren Sanchez over what happened at Lauren Sanchez's wedding.
According to legal documents, Lauren Sanchez wasn't just fighting for her marriage, she was accused of betraying it in the dirtiest way possible. Bezos' lawyers claimed she deliberately leaked intimate details from private conversations, everything from personal secrets to sensitive business transactions that could shake the Amazon empire itself. The lawsuit painted a chilling picture, a carefully orchestrated betrayal. It accused Lauren of working with shadowy outsiders to humiliate Bezos, destroy his image, and deal him damage that even his billions couldn't fix. The media went wild. Every news outlet, every gossip site, every talk show asked the same question. What was Lauren's real motive? And even bigger, what evidence could Bezos possibly have to accuse his own wife of something this explosive? In one night, Lauren Sanchez's image flipped upside down. From the glamorous billionaire wife, she was cast as a traitor, dragged in the press, dissected online, and slammed as a woman who went too far. Overnight, the spotlight that once made her untouchable now burned her alive. But in the middle of the chaos, one haunting question refused to die. Was this really betrayal, or was this just Bezos, a wounded billionaire, using his power to crush her once and for all? When the trial began, the courtroom turned into a stage straight out of a high-budget drama series. Every session brought bombshells. Bezos' legal team came armed for war. They painted Lauren as a mastermind of manipulation, someone who used her access to Bezos to plot his downfall piece by piece. The accusations were staggering. Bezos claimed she leaked private texts, exposed confidential emails, and even secretly recorded conversations with him, all part of a sinister plan to drag his name through the mud. When prosecutors flashed the alleged evidence on the big screens, jaws dropped. Texts showed Lauren discussing a humiliation plan with an unnamed collaborator. Messages that read like something out of a spy thriller. Witnesses stepped forward. Investigators testified about shadowy payments funneled through hidden accounts, money allegedly tied to this very betrayal. The atmosphere inside the courtroom was electric. Every gasp, every murmur echoing through the hall like thunder. Bezos' lawyers hammered their point home. Lauren Sanchez wasn't a victim. She was a cold-blooded operator, a woman driven by greed and resentment, willing to weaponize her relationship with the richest man alive. On social media, the debate raged nonstop. Was she a manipulator or a scapegoat? Was Bezos defending himself, or was this the ultimate act of revenge? But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared the world for the real explosion, when Lauren Sanchez herself took the stand. That's when the billionaire couple's private nightmare came crashing into the public eye, and every dirty secret was suddenly on display for the entire world to see. When Lauren Sanchez finally took the stand, the courtroom atmosphere shifted instantly. Cameras flashed, reporters scribbled every word, and the audience leaned forward like they were about to witness history. For the first time, the woman at the center of the $5 billion scandal was about to speak, and what she said had the power to either save her or destroy her forever. Dressed in a sleek black suit, Lauren's image was carefully crafted, but her voice cracked as she spoke. She didn't hold back. She claimed Jeff Bezos wasn't the victim at all. According to her, the billionaire had been living a double life. She told the court that Bezos manipulated, controlled, and used her as nothing more than a trophy wife. And the so-called leaks? Lauren insisted they weren't betrayal. They were a cry for help, proof of what she had endured behind closed doors. The courtroom gasped as Lauren accused Bezos of keeping shocking secrets of his own. She painted him as paranoid, obsessed with power, and willing to smear her name just to keep his empire spotless. Her testimony flipped the entire narrative on its head. For weeks, Bezos had looked like the wronged husband, but now whispers began. Could it be that Lauren was the one telling the truth all along? But Bezos' legal team came prepared. They tore into her claims, blasting them as lies designed to twist public sympathy. They reminded the jury of the evidence, texts, emails, recordings, and argued that Lauren wasn't some helpless victim, but a ruthless player who knew exactly what she was doing. She orchestrated this, one of Bezos' attorneys thundered, and now she wants to play innocent. The tension was unbearable. Every time Bezos and Lauren locked eyes across the courtroom, the air froze. Their once picture-perfect romance was now nothing more than icy stares, angry whispers, and public humiliation. Witnesses close to the couple revealed even more dirt. Stories of screaming matches that rattled their mansions, tales of staff forced to tiptoe around endless fights, and rumors of financial bribes meant to keep insiders quiet. Outside the courthouse, chaos erupted daily. Protesters carried signs accusing Lauren of greed, while others shouted that Bezos was abusing his power. Social media split into two brutal camps, Team Jeff and Team Lauren, each side digging up old photos, resurfacing interviews, and dissecting every courtroom detail like amateur detectives. The press called it the billionaire trial of the century. Every headline grew juicier. Lauren exposes Jeff's secrets. Bezos strikes back with damning evidence. Marriage from heaven turns into courtroom from hell. And yet, even with all the scandals spilling out, one thing was crystal clear: this battle was far from over. Because the deeper the court dug, the more shocking revelations surfaced. Each witness, each document, each fiery cross-examination peeled back another layer of their twisted love story. And by the end of the week, one question hung heavy over the entire world. Who was really the villain in this billionaire war? Jeff Bezos or Lauren Sanchez? By the time the second week of the trial began, the courtroom was no longer just a place of law. It was a battlefield. Every session turned into a spectacle with gasps, shouting, and fiery exchanges that felt more like a Hollywood script than real life. And right in the center of it all, Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez sat just feet apart, two former lovers now locked in a billion-dollar war. Bezos' legal team came out swinging. They revealed financial records showing massive unexplained withdrawals linked to accounts in Lauren's name. According to them, these funds were used to pay off collaborators who helped her leak information. The documents were waved in front of the jury, and the courtroom buzzed with whispers. If true, it was damning. But Lauren wasn't about to go down quietly. Her lawyers countered by presenting private journal entries allegedly written by her, entries that described emotional manipulation, secret rules she had to follow, and a life where she felt like a prisoner in Bezos' empire. One shocking line read aloud, "I smile for the cameras, but inside I'm drowning." The words echoed across the room like a ghost haunting the trial. Witness after witness was called, and the stories only fueled the chaos. Former employees testified about heated arguments, staff being fired for the smallest mistakes, and insiders who claimed they saw Lauren crying alone during luxury vacations. Others hinted at financial cover-ups and power games that made Bezos look less like a victim and more like a tyrant. The courtroom became split down the middle. On one side, the image of Bezos, the betrayed genius, the world's richest man fighting to protect his empire. On the other, Lauren Sanchez, the woman accused of betrayal but now painting herself as a survivor who dared to expose the cracks in his golden empire. Meanwhile, the media circus outside exploded. Every day, camera crews camped outside the courthouse, fans screamed, and protesters clashed. One group chanted, "Justice for Jeff," while another yelled, "Stand with Lauren." The frenzy was so wild that police had to set up barricades to control the chaos. And still, the questions kept piling up. Was Lauren a mastermind scheming for power, or a victim trapped in the shadow of the richest man alive? Was Bezos defending his legacy, or simply crushing the woman who once stood by his side? Each revelation pulled the world deeper into the scandal, and everyone knew the next witness could unleash the biggest shock yet. Because insiders whispered that someone very close to the couple, someone who who had seen everything was about to take the stand, and when that testimony dropped, it promised to turn this trial upside down all over again. The whispers were true. The mystery witness was finally revealed, and the courtroom froze as the doors opened. All eyes locked on the figure walking in, and the shock was instant. It wasn't just another lawyer, assistant, or friend. It was a former member of Bezos and Lauren's inner circle. Someone who had been there for the weddings, the dinners, the vacations, and the fights. A person who knew exactly how the fairy tale crumbled from the inside out. Gasps echoed as the witness took the stand. Their identity was protected at first, but when they spoke, jaws dropped. They admitted to being part of Lauren's confidant group, the people she turned to when the marriage started to collapse. Their testimony was explosive. They claimed Lauren had shown them screenshots of private texts, had openly discussed teaching Jeff a lesson, and even hinted at working with outside contacts to leak information, but that wasn't all. The witness also revealed chilling details about Bezos himself, stories of paranoia so intense that he would make staff hand over their phones, sweep his mansions for listening devices, and accuse Lauren of betrayal every time she went out without him. The testimony cut both ways, slicing into Lauren's image while also exposing Bezos's darker side. The courtroom buzzed with tension. Every word was like gasoline poured onto an already raging fire. Bezos sat stiff, his jaw clenched, while Lauren scribbled notes furiously, her lawyers whispering in her ear. Social media went into meltdown within minutes. Hashtags like #TeamLauren, #BezosExposed, and #Billionaire trial trended worldwide. The testimony only escalated as investigators pulled out shocking new exhibits, hidden recordings that allegedly captured Lauren mocking Bezos in private. One clip played for the court showed a woman's voice laughing, saying, "The world thinks he's untouchable, but he's just a man. Watch me break him." The courtroom gasped so loudly that the judge had to call for silence. Still, Lauren's lawyers fought back, arguing the recordings were manipulated, taken out of context, and part of a smear campaign orchestrated by Bezos's billion-dollar legal machine. They insisted Lauren was being crushed under the weight of his power, painted as a villain simply because she dared to challenge him. The judge's gavel slammed down repeatedly, but the courtroom was beyond control. The scandal had taken on a life of its own. Reporters outside compared it to a modern-day royal trial where reputations, fortunes, and legacies were being ripped apart under the world's spotlight. And yet, despite everything already spilled, the most dangerous question remained unanswered. If Lauren really had collaborators, who were they? And if Bezos truly had more evidence, what was he saving for the finale? Because insiders whispered that the next round of revelations wouldn't just shake Bezos and Lauren, it could drag in powerful names from Hollywood, Wall Street, and even politics. The billionaire trial of the century was about to go from personal to global, and no one knew who would survive the fallout. The courtroom froze, so quiet you could hear the shuffle of papers, all eyes locked on Lauren Sanchez as she faced the most damning evidence yet. Bezos's legal team went straight for the kill, dropping a secret recording that made jaws drop. In it, Lauren's own voice calmly discussed a plan to publicly humiliate Bezos, a scheme so cold it left the jury stunned. Her confidence crumbled instantly. Under brutal cross-examination, Lauren admitted she had shared private details of the marriage, but swore it wasn't malicious. Yet her words rang hollow because the recording spoke louder than any denial. The evidence showed she wasn't just caught in the storm, she was helping build it, hand in hand with those who profited off Bezos's humiliation. Then came the financial bombshell. Bezos's investigators revealed records of massive transfers to offshore accounts. Millions moved in secret. Prosecutors alleged this was the betrayal fund, money Lauren used to bankroll the very plan designed to take down the world's richest man. Each revelation stabbed deeper into her reputation. Piece by piece, the glamorous facade of Lauren Sanchez collapsed before the world's eyes. The audience in the courtroom sat in stunned silence, watching what felt less like a divorce trial and more like the unmasking of a global scandal. What was once the fairy tale love story of the century was now stripped bare, nothing but betrayal, greed, and hidden agendas left behind. And then, without warning, the climax. The jury returned shockingly fast. After weeks of testimony, crossfire, and chaos, their decision was unanimous. Jeff Bezos had won. Completely. The verdict was brutal. Lauren Sanchez was guilty of orchestrating leaks, of deliberately humiliating Bezos, of inflicting serious harm to his reputation and mental state. She was ordered to pay him the staggering sum of $5 billion. Overnight, her empire collapsed. The contrast couldn't have been more dramatic. Bezos walked out of the courthouse glowing, hailed as the victor of the trial of the century. Meanwhile, Lauren Sanchez exited under a storm of flashes and boos, her carefully crafted image in ruins, her reputation shredded, and her once untouchable status reduced to rubble. Around the globe, the media exploded. Headlines screamed, "Bezos destroys Lauren in $5 billion verdict. Billionaire revenge complete." Social media went feral, half praising the verdict as justice served, the other half raging that Lauren had been made the scapegoat of a cruel billionaire power play. And now the world is left asking, what's next for Lauren Sanchez? Can she recover from this spectacular fall, from private jets and palaces to financial ruin and public humiliation? Or has Jeff Bezos permanently erased her from the billionaire world she once ruled? And so Jeff Bezos walked out of court as the undisputed winner, but a massive question still lingers. Did this $5 billion victory truly repair his broken image? Or did it only magnify the controversy surrounding the richest man alive? The verdict may have been decisive, but the fallout was anything but simple. In the hours after the announcement, reactions split like lightning. Some praised Bezos for his boldness, applauding him for standing up to what they believe was Lauren's cold and calculated betrayal. But just as many voices rose in outrage, accusing him of weaponizing his wealth and power to mercilessly crush the very woman he once paraded around the world as his great love. Suddenly, the man who once lived in total privacy was thrust into the most heated global debate of his life about power, about betrayal, about revenge. Surprisingly, sympathy began shifting toward Lauren Sanchez. To some, she wasn't the villain of the story, but the tragic figure, left destroyed by a man who could summon entire armies of lawyers at the snap of his fingers. They said this wasn't justice, it was payback. Others, however, cheered for Bezos, claiming the verdict proved one thing above all: betrayal has consequences even in the billionaire world. Through it all, Bezos himself stayed eerily silent. No press conferences, no fiery statements, just silence. But that silence only fueled speculation as the world whispered about his next move. Meanwhile, Lauren was visibly crumbling. The losses stacked up. Sponsorship deals gone, friends distancing themselves, her access to the elite lifestyle she once flaunted, now completely severed. The couple who once lit up Venice with their $50 million wedding of the century were now reduced to ashes. Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez, names once tied to love, wealth, and unstoppable power, were now forever linked to scandal, betrayal, and the most explosive celebrity lawsuit in modern history. And yet, the bigger question refuses to fade. Does money really shield you from heartbreak, or does it make the fall even more painful when everything comes crashing down? For Bezos, winning wasn't just about billions. It was about reclaiming his pride after months of humiliation. But critics argue his victory came with a dangerous price. His image is no longer untouchable. Instead, he's seen by many as ruthless, willing to burn everything, even his own marriage, just to prove a point. Lauren, on the other hand, lost it all: billions, respect, influence. But Bezos may have lost something deeper: trust, love, and the universal admiration he once held in the palm of his hand. That glittering wedding in Venice was supposed to be a symbol of eternal romance. Instead, it's remembered as a symbol of excess, greed, and the fragile illusion of power. This trial left the world with a haunting truth. Relationships built on status, money, and fame may shine brighter than the sun, but they can collapse faster than anyone imagines. Yes, Jeff Bezos won his $5 billion war, but the scars left behind may never heal. And now I'll leave you with the question that won't go away. Who truly lost more in this billionaire battle, Lauren Sanchez or Jeff Bezos himself? If you were captivated by this story, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, share this video, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Because this scandal isn't just about two people, it's about the dangerous price of power and love under the spotlight. See you on the next one!